This is the Drop Podcast where we talk golfing in the Garden State. I'm Mike Porro, and this is Ryan Coulott.
What's up, Drop Pod people? Welcome back. We got a special installment here. We have a feature of Galloping Hill Golf Course. Mike and I just were out there, played. You got a beautiful view here of the 10th tee. Mike, let's recap the day. We had a nice day out there.
Yeah, I mean, listen, for what the weather has been like in New Jersey, to get a day like today where the sun is out, it's hot, right up my alley. It was
Not up my alley.
Yeah, it was a good day, and the course is lush. It's green. It played very well. So yeah, let's dive into things. But as normal, before we get going, we got to give a couple quick shout outs here. Mm-hmm. Big time thank you to Chris Flegger for kind of organizing and setting this thing up. Chris has been a huge supporter of you and I of what we've done.
Certainly has, yeah.
So without him, advocating for the things that we're doing, we're not able to get up here to do things like this. So huge shout out to Chris and his team here at Galloping Hill.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Next item on the hit list here is always the price, right? We always these two topics, besides course conditions, what we'll get into next is the price. I did ask Chris ahead of time. We're riding out there and said, what is the most someone would pay for a non-resident on the weekends? And one of the things I really, really did like is Chris did mention to me, on the weekends, the earliest tee time is 5:30 a.m.
That is way too early.
So good. You get home in time to still enjoy the day. It's light out at that time. So I love the fact that you could tee off 5:30. But the most that someone would pay for non-resident on the weekend with a cart was $88. Tough to beat sub 90 in terms of a total price. Now that's if you wanted to ride. Forget about it. I walked all 18.
Non-resident.
Yeah,
riding.
You want to walk, it's $68.
Yeah, so
tough to beat that price.
It really is. We haven't found many, Mike, and I'm trying to I say many, and I'm trying to rack my brain now, thinking if there's any that are less than that, or
off the top of my head, I can't. Normally,
the
highest price we've seen is the $100 ranges. That's kind of been like the number.
Yep. For
something to be sub $90 and then potentially even sub 70 at the highest point.
Mm-hmm. Depending on where you live.
Tough to beat.
Very tough to beat.
Tough to beat, especially when the course is in the condition that this place is in.
Yeah, and again, I know places hate this word, like we've talked about, but it is a great value. The value of the price for what you're getting is really good here. Mm-hmm. It really is.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There's no two ways
about
it.
You're getting, like you said, a lush golf course. It did rain last night, so there was some puddling. Not even on the golf course puddling. It was like off the sides where you can see. So the golf course itself, the meat, the bones, the green, fairway, tee boxes, all those were fine as far as water goes. We ran into a little bit of water on the cart paths and if you wandered off, but other than that, it was great.
Yeah, there was no standing water to things that, sometimes I think we hear the stories about Galloping Hill that sometimes it doesn't drain as well. Mm-hmm. Today, there was no issues whatsoever, and it rained last night.
And we got a ton of rain last night. Like enough rain where, like, my dog last night was ornery as I got limited hours of sleep because he was constantly barking at the lightning. So
I do want to address one thing before we get into the golf course itself is I know that you and I hear a lot through DMs and text messages. Well, it's so hard to book a tee time up there. It's so hard to book a tee time, and understandably so with that price and in this conditions.
Yeah.
I did talk to Chris and I asked him, what is the best way for someone to get a tee time?
Great question.
And here's what his response was, and I want to make sure that I don't butcher this, so I'm going to kind of read something here. The best way to get a tee time, especially if you are not a Union County resident, is to get a small group together and book a tee time outing. It will cost you a little more than the average price, but it also includes any kind of drink, and more importantly, it gets you access that is very hard to come by. That is something that when Chris had mentioned to me when we got here, they held a lot of outings. I'm thinking the full-on golf outings, right?
Yeah.
Course is shut down. But the idea that we could call in advance, if I had a group of 8, a group of 12, and say, hey, listen, I need this golf course a month out. I got 12 people. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure I get my spot and get a drink that goes along with it. Okay, I'm willing to pay the extra money to do that to secure the time. It's a great little caveat.
It really is. It's a nice little backdoor entrance there. Way to get around the system. And even if it sounded like even if you had a foursome, like if you have a steady game that you play, you got a group of guys that you always play with. It doesn't need to be 12 guys, sometimes it's tough for people to find, 11 other friends. But if you got 3 other guys that you play with and you wanted to get up here, that's another option to go. And did it say how much it was?
Yeah, it was in the ballpark of $110 to $115.
So to guarantee yourself a time, and to which you got to pay for, that is
Anyway,
something that
right.
there's value in that, right?
Right.
That might not be $60 worth more, but if you think between a drink and that, it's you're paying a little bit to guarantee yourself a time and a time that you want. I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
especially with how busy they've been, because
Oh.
they're doing what he said. They're tracking to do. What do you say? 80,000 rounds.
They potentially could do
80,000
80,000 if they
rounds.
didn't do many golf outings like
Gotcha.
this.
So you're talking about a place that is jam-packed.
Yeah.
Constantly from the ungodly hour of 5:30 in the morning until all hours of the day. So yeah, that's kind of a little loophole that you can get around it. Even if you had just a foursome, you and 3 buddies reach out, do this little golf outing package, and again, yes, it's slightly more, but comes with
Bonuses.
Comes with some bonuses.
Yeah, listen, the safety of knowing that my time is secured and I have a drink that goes along with it. I mean, that's sometimes you pay for the added convenience. And this is one of those things. If you want to play and you got your group of 4, obviously you can't call the day before and say, hey, listen, I want this. But if you know a week or 2 in advance, hey, listen, I want to get this done. It's kind of a no-brainer to secure your spot to come and play.
Now, I didn't get to chat with Chris about any of this stuff. So did he say what non-residents can book out and what residents can book out? Like how many days in advance?
I believe it's 5 days for non-residents to
Okay.
book their tee time out ahead of time.
Okay. So
Or you could, if you decide the night before, hey, listen, I'm free, no one's around, I'm going to go on there and see what they have available for single.
Yeah.
You could always do that too.
and I would imagine that that's going to be the better one, because the one thing that he and I did chat a little bit about was the no-show fee. That they used to not charge you for no-shows. Now they are. So they have a combination of more people showing up and not no-showing, or calling the 24 hours in advance. So kind of another hidden secret here, I guess, is book one of these outings, quote unquote outings, or try to jump on the night before, see if you can get lucky.
Yeah.
See if someone canceled and you can jump on.
Yeah, so listen, I think those are some catches, some behind-the-scenes things that the average person probably doesn't know, and now they can be educated on. But I do want to kind of, pivot a little bit here to the golf course. I was fortunate to come see this place maybe 2 years ago, along with last year playing in the 4-ball qualifier. You have never seen this place, or it's been quite some time.
Yeah, so I was trying to think of the year that I came out here, Mike, and it's like 2008 or 2009. And we're talking about a completely different, A, human being, B, I wasn't into golf like I am now. And I clearly just was like, oh, that's a course. Like, I was meeting somebody. They were coming from north. I was coming from south. This was like hey, let's meet in kind of in the middle. And I couldn't tell you anything about the course. Like, I don't remember a thing other than like, oh yeah, I played there that one time, 15 plus years ago. So I couldn't tell you anything about the course. So technically, no, I've been here. But for all intents and purposes, this is my first time being here.
And your thoughts?
It was really nice. Really, I like the layout. It was longer, maybe because it was wet, but it played longer than it said on the card. Everything was in good shape. Greens rolled nicely. Again, I hate that the word value has a negative connotation, but it's a great value at what it is, and it'd be a great value at $100.
Yeah.
So it was really it's not some dog track muni that you're like, oh, it's okay. I'm just gonna, let's go knock it around. Like, let's do more drinking. Let's wear jorts or cargo shorts, or it's a real golf course with real challenges, and not one to be taken lightly. It's not a throwaway like, oh, let's just be outside today. It's a golf course.
No doubt. It was challenging. The undulations, the ups, the downs, the side hills.
What hole is that, 14, that you got to climb up the mountain?
Yeah, a couple climb up the mountain,
Yeah.
let's be honest. But let's start on the front nine here. Obviously, the audience will see, you did film the whole front nine, and I'm not going to say anything about what happened. But what holes to you kind of stood out on the front nine as like memorable or challenging, or just something that made you say, like, wow, that's pretty good?
So if I'm looking back at the scorecard correctly, the hole is it hole 4. I think I ended up bogeying it.
We both hit it left off the tee.
We both hit it left. Yeah, that.
Are you talking about the second shot where it just goes straight up and you hit it left into the other fairway, and then you're
I
under?
hit it left into the trees, and then I clipped the tree and
Yeah,
came
that
straight
was
down.
7.
That was
7.
seven. Okay. So then that one.
7.
That the face of that, being at the base of that, it's 50 feet of elevation, and just an incredible view and looking hole that was. It was drastic.
Yeah, no,
you don't usually see. I wouldn't say that we're in the mountains here in New Jersey. You know, we're in Kenilworth here. There's not like, you wouldn't think like, you think like Sussex and Morris County, like those are in the mountains. Like, you wouldn't think that there's that much undulation at this part. I wouldn't say that this obviously isn't the shore, but I wouldn't necessarily say that there's that much hills. And there's, I was shocked at how big that hill was.
I kind of thought for me it was like the stretch of 3, 4, 5, 3 being that par 4, hardest hole in the golf course. You're teeing off from way up above. You got to go all the way down kind of the mountain. You still got a decent second shot in there, which kind of led into 4, the par 4, kind of slight dog leg right, kind of a little bit of an elevated green, then right into the par 3 with a great backdrop right there.
Beautiful.
Tough 2-tiered green. I thought that stretch of 3, 4, 5 was a good little stretch, with kind of the icing on the cake for me on the front was the 9th hole. When you come up here on the 9th hole and you got the backdrop of the clubhouse right here, like they did a really good job on 9 and 18 of tying this clubhouse right here.
100% they did. I was going to jump backwards a little bit, Mike, and go to 6 as well. Like that stretch of 3, 4, 5 are great. I think 6 is a big boy par 5.
Yeah, it's tough
as well. And then teeing off from where we did on 7 up top there is another beautiful view that you get. 7, and what's the other hole on that it would be on the back up there? But that little plateau that we're on up there is a really good spot on the golf course. 16, something like that. Yeah, that was really good. To your point, I would say my favorite hole, and you know, I may or may not have done really well on it, but the 9th hole is excellent on the front. That is a really good hole architecturally coming into the building. Like it fits. I guess they've since redone the building, you know, since this became the home of New Jersey golf. So like you have a lot of good aesthetics there coming into this. You know, we got a great patio that we're sitting on here. This is a really good spot. So there's a lot of positives coming out of the front there.
Yeah, and it's a challenging front 9. I mean, all things considered, it is a par 36, but you're talking, you know, over 3,500 yards, and obviously we can do the math here that you're talking, if that doubled up on the back, that's nearly 7,000 yards, and that's a long way for you and I, which just makes it kind of funny in a little bit, because we had said on the back 9 we kind of thought the back 9 played longer.
Yep.
And maybe that's because it's a par 35 compared to 36, but I just felt like the back 9, maybe where they had the tee boxes, I don't know what was going on, but I felt like on the back 9 it was a lot of 5 and 6 irons for us.
Yeah, I agree, and maybe it was because it wasn't rolling as much.
Maybe.
Elevation changes or what have you, but yeah, it did feel like there was a lot of long irons into holes that you're like, wow, I hit a really pretty good shot there, and I'm still coming up short, or you know, and it was definitely strategic. There was some the par 3s. There's 2 of them, you know, 207 and 187 are longer par 3s. So maybe that's why we felt it, you know, it was a little bit longer too, but yeah, felt longer than the front for sure.
No doubt. You know, and I, you know, when you got to the back 9, where 10's tee box was kind of tucked in the nook over there.
Cool.
Having Kevin Purcell walk out as he was pulling in, saying hello to us. And then we're hitting off from this little chute, half in the parkway, half on the golf course. And it's tough. And for someone that hits a draw, you got to hit a cut. And it's a very unique spot to put the tee box back there, because when I look at the back 9 and that says it's the 10th hardest hole, I find that so hard to believe that 10th hole is the 10th hardest hole based upon where that tee box is. Because to me, like, I just find that hard to believe, because then you just go to the next hole and they say that's the easiest hole in the golf course. And it was 201 where we played it out today. It was 201 yards with a pin tucked in the right. You got the tree overhanging on the right. And I'm like, you're telling me this is the easiest hole in the golf course?
I mean, it's only easy if you're chipping in from just off the green, I would say.
Yeah.
So.
Did someone do that?
Someone did do that.
We did that. Is
I
camera?
Did,
We have it
I
on
did do
camera?
that. Not on camera. No.
Then it didn't happen. But as you went through the back nine, what stood out to you? What did you like?
So I thought the stretch there of 13, 14, 15 was a really good stretch of holes. If you want to talk about like an amen corner there.
Yeah.
That the dog leg left, so we both went, your draw, slung it around there, and, just a little bit through, you got unfortunate there. I took a 5-wood and ended up going over the trees and was able to cut a little bit of it, but we kind of took two different paths and kind of came close to each other there. But that was a really good hole, risk reward there. That was a really nice. I liked how that was kind of set up there, that hole.
Yeah.
And then the next hole, I didn't get much of a vantage point of the fairway, but it looked like very undulating fairway, kind of up and down.
Tough green there.
Tough green for sure. So, I took a punch in the face on that one. And then the
par three.
The par three was, we didn't even play it from the upper tee box.
Right.
Because it was on the low side. But if you got up to that upper tee box, you got to, again, a nice little plateau where you could almost get a 360 of the whole course.
Yeah.
And it's not 360, but call it at least 180 because you're looking at basically all the front there.
Yeah.
With another good view, some well-placed bunkers, and just another, that's a really good stretch there that I liked.
And it's funny you said, because I liked 16, 17, 18 coming in because I finally felt like you had a chance to breathe. Like I felt like the whole first 6 holes on the back, I'm like, oh my God, when am I going to have a chance to get one back? When am I hitting 6-iron? Finally you get to 16 and it's like, all right, you can hit a wedge into the green from the tee box if you hit a good drive. And then 17 is a short par 4 that you can get really close to the green and potentially get up and down. And then 18 is a par 5 where, you'd like to think that you have opportunities to score on the par 5s.
No doubt.
So it was those 3 holes that I finally was like, okay, maybe we can finally get one back here because, man, it's been a grind on the whole back.
Okay, well, we actually gave 5 away on those 3 holes, so I would disagree. But those were 3 really good holes. You do feel like, I put a terrible shot on my drive on 16 and just was never really in the hole to see anything like that. But to your point, I don't know what you had in, but it didn't look like anything more than a 9-iron.
Yeah, it was a wedge. It was at 118, I think we had in.
So there you go, onto a green that looked like it was one of the more undulating greens.
Yeah.
Again, I was out, so I just kind of
waved.
I kind of waved at you as you were. Oh, it looks like Mike has a slider here. But then 17, a drivable if it's downwind and you're really gonna hit it. You really got to step on it, right? But potentially drivable. At least we had less than 30 yards into the green there.
Yep.
So you can get up and down there, which again, just breathable is a good way to describe it. And then always on a par 5, you feel like you can try to get one back. Wasn't able to get one back, but
I was.
But it was another really good hole where you could, a good drive and a good shot get you at least up near the green. Maybe if you get lucky, you can slide onto the green or catch a bounce there. But a good, really good risk reward. But again, coming back to it, beautiful view with the clubhouse in the background and dog leg right coming into the end here.
Yeah, and you can kind of see why this place is jam-packed, with rounds constantly. Chris and his crew do a phenomenal job of keeping the course in good shape. The price is hard to beat. It truly, truly is. And you can see why, again, it's hosting this year's Public Links Championship. Those guys are in for a treat. You kind of, I'm sure Chris and his crew are crossing their fingers that it's dry, so they get to really see what this place can play like.
Yeah.
But again, those are things that are unfortunately you just can't control.
Out of the control. Yeah. No doubt there. It really is excellent, and they've put more and more money into it, and I wonder where it's going to be in a few years as New Jersey Golf has come here, and I know that Chris and I were talking about some of the changes that they'd like to instill. Doesn't know if they're going to happen, but if they can do it, it's only going to get better and better and better, and it's already really pretty good. So like I said, very obvious why it's jam packed. No excuse not to play here.
Yeah, listen, for what you pay, for the conditions you'd see, it's one of those spots in New Jersey that, as you're going down the Parkway, you might as well stop real quick, see if you can get a, quick little tee time and go experience, a fun, challenging, fair, in great condition golf course for a price you just can't beat.
Yeah. For those people that are going south, right? You get, people from New York, people from North Jersey going to, summer houses, summer rentals down the shore. I would say two things. First, we don't want you. Second thing is, this is a place to stop.
Yeah.
Why not stop on your way down? Why sit in traffic? Pull over, play 9, play 18, hit balls, go play. Mike, something we haven't touched upon is they have a learning 9.
Yeah.
That and I don't know enough about it, but some of the holes looked like it wasn't a pitch and putt.
No, it's all par threes and par fours.
So
they
got
the whole thing here. I mean, the driving range is unbelievable. We've been to the swing suite. That's phenomenal. You got the golf course. You got the learning 9. This is a facility. This is not just a golf course. I mean, you got a lot of options here to kind of tickle your fancy a little bit, if you want to say.
No doubt. So again, if you're like, rather than sit in traffic, if you know that you're going at a time you got to work in the morning, right, and you're coming from North Jersey, going for a weekend down the shore, like, might as well pull off, get 9 in, see if you can make that work, and then keep going. This is a spot that would be an easy way to start your weekend off the right way, or your vacation week off the right
100%.
way.
So listen, if you get the opportunity, we can't harp on it enough to come take a peek, experience this place, because Chris and his crew, as we've said on repeat here, do an unbelievable job keeping this place in order. So come check out Galloping Hill Golf Course. It's one of those days you just won't be disappointed with.
100%.
Until next time, cheers.